Okay, next up on my chart is number 5, which is Cool Spot. This is probably my favourite overall platforming game from the Master System. Cool Spot is challenging, entertaining, has gorgeous graphics, it's got excellent controls, and I spent years mastering it and eventually completed it. It's an absolute classic. Cool Spot challenges you to traverse the entire area. It challenges you to try and find everything that you can, but you have got a time limit. It's got brilliant special stages where you are basically in a Coke bottle and you have to collect little tabs or little tokens, whatever you call them, and you float around bouncing off of bubbles. And it's a vibrant, excellent, fun, light-hearted platformer, but it has a serious learning curve and it's got a serious challenge for those of you who want a truly all-round platforming game. It's definitely one to pick up. Okay, number 4 on my chart is the excellent and almost legendary Alien 3. Now, the strange thing about this is that obviously Alien 3 was one of the worst Alien movies, but the Alien 3 video game on the 8-bit and indeed the 16-bit generations was brilliantly done. It's a really well made game. It's tense, action-packed platform shooter that challenges you to remember the levels and be as efficient as possible, rather than just run and gun and kill everything. It's definitely my favourite port of the game on the Master System. The graphics and sound are great on this game, top-notch for Master System, and you have to really try to learn the levels, because if you spend too long wandering around just exploring everything, you'll run out of time and you'll fail. You have to save the prisoners, free them from the alien facehuggers or whatever, and get to the exit as quickly as you can. It's one of my all-time favourites, and I highly recommend that people try it out. Okay, we're getting to the nitty gritty here, so to speak. The number 3 on my chart would be Wonder Boy 3: The Dragon's Trap. Wonder Boy 3 is the ultimate mixture of RPG and action platforming. It's not a turn-based RPG, it's much more a real-time platformer, but it has RPG elements that are easy to get to grips with. It has a nice, crisp, fun graphical style, and you never know what will happen next. I always remember playing the very first level, running along, trying to find my way out from this little dungeon area, and you'd have to kill these snakes and these skeletons and these ogres, and if you kept taking the wrong turn, you could walk through this place for ages and you'd never find the way out. But as soon as you find the way out, you fight this massive, I'm assuming it's the dragon from the name Dragon's Trap, and you fight that dragon really early on in the game, and it kind of sets the tone for the game for when you carry on into the next levels. You can then visit shops and you can go to different play areas and explore, and it's really sort of up to your own interpretation as to where you want to go and where you want to end up and what you want to do. It's a brilliant little action adventure game on the Master System, and I keep saying brilliant, so I'll try and stop saying it, but it's definitely one of my favourite games on the system, and I hope you enjoy. Okay, so my number 2 in this top 10 Master System games, for me, this is probably one of my most fondly remembered Master System games of all time. The excellent Alex the Kid in Miracle World is a gorgeous little game with all sorts of fun to be had. Definitely deserves a top 10 place on everyone's list. Alex the Kid in Miracle World, it was the first Alex the Kid game that I ever played, and it tries to incorporate all sorts of different game styles. It starts off as a platformer, but quite quickly you begin to find that you can actually pick items up and equip them and use them, and you can go into shops, and it's similar in a sense to Wonder Boy 3 in that it's a mixture of action platforming and some RPG elements as well. I always just found that I had more fun more entertainment from Alex the Kid than Wonder Boy 3. I sometimes get stuck on Wonder Boy 3, but with Alex the Kid I didn't mind. I just always swam around, messing about. It always had a really, really cute, up-tempo, fun atmosphere to it, and you could ride a motorbike, for God's sake. It was brilliant. Yeah, so an absolute classic. Alex the Kid in Miracle World is my number 2. Definitely go out there and pick it up as soon as you can. The only problem with Alex the Kid in Miracle World is that it was one of the games that you got built in when you bought a Master System Mark II, and that proved to be a real problem for me in terms of capturing the video. But you can pick up a Master System with it built in. I recommend you do it that way rather than trying to buy the cartridge, because the cartridge is ridiculously expensive. But anyway, excellent game, perfect example of why the Master System is one of the best 80s, early 90s consoles, and definitely number 2. Great game. Okay, so here we are. We've finally made it to my number 1 game for the Master System. Again, I just want to stress that this is obviously just my opinion, and that there's no way that I can possibly guarantee that this is the hands down greatest game on the system in the world ever. This is purely my personal favourite game for the Master System. Zillion 2 was always going to be the top of my list. It was one of the most challenging, most memorable games for me. The music, the graphics, the high-speed action, the mixture of different game styles. Changing into a freaking robot, I mean, come on. I mastered the first few levels of this game quite quickly, but never mastered the rest. But I always go back to it, and I always try to play through it, and I always try to play those first 2 levels. Not a lot else I can say about this game, except that for me it represents what Master System meant to me when I was growing up. It holds the most number of memories for me. Just the music in the first level, and being able to learn how to do, when to jump and when to shoot, and what power-ups to pick up, and being able to change into this robot. I remember playing this when I was a child, when I was like 12 years old, and it was the greatest thing I'd ever seen. And although it is quite challenging, and some people may find some of the changes in pace to be a little bit not to their taste, because obviously the first level you're playing this really fast game where you're on the bike and you're shooting enemies, and then the next part of it you're on foot, and the part that's on foot is obviously a lot slower. So there may be those of you who find it's not quite to your liking, but for me, Zillion 2 is just the perfect Master System game. I can pick it up, put it on, play the first 2 or 3 levels and enjoy myself thoroughly, and enjoy the wonderful nostalgic memories of those days when I had it originally when I was a kid. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the game, and I hope you enjoyed this chart. So I'll leave you with Zillion 2. Enjoy.